better. That was annoying. Hold on. Hello. Oh, what do you want me to do? All right, guys, if you're just joining us online, we are live streaming this. This is Victor Park with Katu News. You are watching the group of protesters leaving the area as ordered by the Portland police. Basically what happened within the last couple of hours, Portland police left the area and all of these protesters started taking over the area. There was a metal fencing surrounding this library. At some point, those protesters started using that fence to protect themselves and to surround this library, essentially using it as their own tools. At the same time, they started retrieving items that were disposed by a crew earlier in a dumpster. So then those protesters started retrieving those items and putting it into a pile. Pan to the library entrance. Okay, sorry for the silence, guys. I was just listening to our anchors live on the air, but what you are watching right now is a group of police officers who have responded here. They came in with loudspeakers telling everyone, if you are in the immediate area of the library, you could be arrested. You are trespassing. They also sent out a bunch of tweets on X warning people to leave the area. And I was talking about that pile that you saw of just items that they were using to survive inside of the library. Well, it was a huge pile, a lot of toilet paper, a lot of other items like food also. And the protesters started telling everyone, hey, take what you can. And they started taking whatever they could and leaving the area. So the crowd has diminished. I mean, earlier there were more than 100 people. And now there are probably, I want to say, maybe 50 or so in the immediate area. They are facing off with police. You see those officers in riot gear. They've got their helmets on, but at the same time, a lot of these protesters are also ready. They were prepared for something like this. They brought their PPEs, their helmets, some of them wearing gas masks in case the officers use tear gas on them. Again, they have been ready. And something I've been watching over the past several days with incidents in other areas like what we saw last night at UCLA, they communicate with each other through social media. So basically they will live stream and they will let the world know what they are doing and what is their plan of action. And so it's unclear if that exactly happened here, but it's interesting because a lot of these groups are also sort of having the same kind of plan in place, if you will, because I mean they've got survival kits, they've got PPE, they've got a whole bunch of other things, and tents also earlier. Before all this was dismantled, we saw some tents for that kind of stuff, and the same thing we saw at UCLA. So very interesting, I guess, correlation happening. But fast forward to a couple of hours ago when officers were facing off with them just like that, but further away from the library. And then at some point, the officers retrieved. Okay, here they are. They are now making arrests. All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay, they are making arrests right now. People are running. They are making arrests right now. This is happening live right in front of the library. And you could see a lot of people running away and someone yelling right over there. And there are several people being arrested. We already know that there were at least 20 people arrested today. That number is set to go up. The officers gave them a chance. The officers told them, you know, if you don't move, you will be arrested. As they're saying right now, by the order of the university, and the area has been closed. And here we are. Several people are arrested for trespassing. So we see one gentleman over here being taken away by police in riot gear. Another person being taken away, counting at least 2 that have been taken away in custody. 3 now. We see that person wearing red taken away in custody. And then there are a group of officers on the left side that I'm watching surrounding one person. So we see more people being arrested. I am counting at least, 5 now? So that number has gone up. And here we are, more people being arrested. This is about the 10th time that those officers have made that announcement, warning these people, if you don't leave the area, you will be arrested for trespassing. And here they are, more people running away now. Yeah, so again, there is someone over there yelling, "Hey, Tim, can we go to the right? This person right there? Can we?" Yeah, so that woman just yelling out of her lungs. And we heard officers obviously giving them the warning. Multiple warnings. So now it's interesting because we saw a lot of people running away, and then now the crowd appears to be coming back towards the officers. We also hear some kind of commotion happening on the other side of the library. And by the way, this is just the outside of it. The concern also is what's happening in the inside of the library, because PSU says that there are people who have breached inside. Okay, Maura, we're right over here. Yeah, so more arrests being made. It is possible that these officers will eventually create a skirmish line on the outside of the campus. Not the outside of the campus, I should say the outside of the library, because this is what we saw earlier. So everyone was basically dispersed out, separated from the library, and then they created a skirmish line in which they held for several hours. And then now, okay, there's someone else being here, someone else over there that has been who has been arrested. Excuse me for the dead silence. Um, yeah, so this is another person being taken into custody. A lot of people right now. There are a lot of people who have. I mean, I think at least 10. I want to say that I saw being taken away.
Miller Library, and those that remain in the park, you are now under arrest for second-degree trespass, ORS 164.245. Anyone resisting arrest and have force used against them and be subject to additional criminal charges. Follow all officer directions and commands.
Here we go. Now they're starting. The group is starting to come back. So earlier we heard a woman, this woman that you hear right now yelling, she was talking about someone who started agitating them. We did see someone taunt these protesters, and eventually these protesters circled around that one person. At the same time, these officers came from a different direction and convened into the area and ordered everyone to leave. And then they started making those arrests. So we are in an area with a bunch of supporters, and then you see the protesters on the opposite end who are chanting. So they're saying something about the people united will never be divided. It's what they are chanting right now. Hello. And if you are still watching us or just joining us, what you're watching is a skirmish line with police and protesters. Basically what happened earlier today, earlier this morning actually, police came in and moved everyone out of this immediate area of the library. Then crews came in and started cleaning out things that were set up in the library to essentially survive the next few days. A lot of tools, a lot of toilet paper, food, and other things. They threw it inside a dumpster. With that said, police stayed out here just almost in that exact area with a skirmish line. And they stayed there for several hours. And then at some point, probably around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, these officers left. They retreated. And then the crowd started following them and started cheering. And then they took over the fencing that was left around. Now, police tell us that the order that they received from PSU is once that fencing is erected, that they could go ahead and leave. So they did that. But then those protesters started using the gates or the fence to their advantage. And then PSU said some of those protesters broke back into the library. So then eventually about an hour or an hour and a half later, which was probably about within the last 15 or so minutes, we saw a swarm of officers convene into the area, making announcements in a loudspeaker saying if you are in this area, in the immediate area, you are trespassing and you are subject to arrest. And then we saw them started making a lot of those arrests. I saw at least 10 people being arrested. And then they started pushing the crowd. The crowd would run away and then they would come back. And this is where we're at right now. So the park is closed. That's what they are telling people right now. We're talking about this park right in front of the library. So now you have officers here facing off with these protesters. Many of them have been ready for this. They've been wearing helmets, other sort of gear to protect themselves from any injury. Many of them have been wearing gas masks in case these officers use tear gas. So again, they've been ready. This is the same kind of scenario we've been watching at other places, other schools across the country, other universities like UCLA. In fact, I got to be honest, I stayed up all night watching that unfold, and then almost immediately after that was pretty much done, police started moving in and making their move this morning at 6 a.m. So 12 hours, 13 hours later now, here we are again with officers here holding the skirmish line, blocking this park, not allowing this crowd to come in. In the meantime, you do also have a crowd so we are on the opposite end, right? We are behind the officers. We are on the north end of the park. The crowd is on the south end. And now we are moving back, actually. So the officers are setting up this yellow tape. This is the yellow tape that we saw earlier. Can we show that yellow tape that is being set up right now? That's the yellow tape that we saw set up earlier that was repeatedly cut by protesters. And once the officers retreated, a lot of these protesters and supporters cut that tape and then made their way back into the park and into the library. And so now they are back to square one from how it was this morning at 6 a.m. This is pretty much the exact scene that we saw when we saw those officers setting up that yellow tape. Except earlier this morning they had done the tape first before arriving and pushing the crowd away. But now they did the opposite order, if you will. So anyway, again, they're telling supporters and the protesters that the park is closed. So as I was saying earlier, what you're looking at right now, we're facing the south side. So the protesters are facing north against the officers. But on the north side of this, where we are standing at, are also supporters. So they have surrounded this area along with the officers. But right now, the officers are mainly concentrated on the south side, where the majority of the crowd is, which that crowd is pretty much about I want to say maybe a good 50, possibly even more, maybe closer to 100 actually. Now that I see it, I have a better advantage. Yeah, that's it's more accurate there. And that obviously doesn't include a crowd that's around us right now. And excuse for any language that you may hear. This is a very fluid situation. Oh, and by the way, so PSU is saying that they plan to have the school open tomorrow, but that, again, this is a fluid situation, so that may change. Again, PSU planning to open the campus tomorrow and have classes resume. We have yet to see if that happens. It all depends on what may happen tonight between the officers and protesters. I think it's important to note that a lot of these protesters earlier had set up a pile of belongings, of tools that they were using to survive, and they were telling people like, oh, just take whatever you need, take whatever you want, and we saw a lot of people leaving with that. So they were, yeah, we saw many people just retrieving those items and then leaving. And then at some point we saw someone antagonized and started just trying to instigate something. And then a lot of these protesters started circling around that person. And then all of a sudden the cops came in and started pushing everyone away, making those loud, those announcements in the loudspeaker. And here we are. We saw at least 10 people being arrested, taken into custody. Some of them were almost putting up a fight with officers. We saw officers had to wrestle a few people down to the ground, and then they were taken away in handcuffs. Here we are at the 7 o'clock hour, 7:20 right now, when 12 hours ago these officers were making a move to disperse these people and remove them from the area until those officers retreated, and then it's sort of repeated. Yeah, so that announcement is kind of getting the crowd riled up. I'm not sure why they were making the announcement, because the crowd is on the other side of the police line. Could just be a warning for them. And we've also yet to see, we are yet to see if there is anyone inside of the PSU library building, because according to PSU, there were some protesters who made it back inside the library. But I haven't seen any officers go inside yet. So we'll see within the next few minutes or next hour.
These motherfuckers are in need of a
So we have a few people who have been taken into custody, right? And there is a man, excuse us for the language you may be hearing, but there is a man over there who is in handcuffs. He claims to be Antifa, that's what he's saying, and the crowd is not happy about that. This is someone actually we see a lot in city council meetings. Yeah. see some movement happening. Okay, so we see a bunch of. Here we go. Let's go. All right, so we see this van coming in right now. This is the transport van we saw earlier that was being chased this morning by protesters, and the police had to essentially arrest some of those people who were trying to block the